Islam, Peace Hotep, Canaanland Moors class, June 17th, 2014. And today's class is Think and Save Yourself. Think and save yourself. Because all the priests are gone mad. All of them are gone mad. Right? There's no living saviors. There's no living saviors right now. Right? The time of somebody coming to do something for you, all that stuff is right. Because we're in the time right now where it goes two ways, right? It goes two ways. Either you get down with a nation that's legitimate ASAP and study that and learn that and connect yourself to a nation, right? Or recognize that even though there's no saviors, there were saviors. And these saviors told everybody, all the saviors told everybody, right, that God's within. Heaven's in the frame of mind, right? There's no saving power outside yourself. Repetitive theme. And, everybody wants to blame some troglodyte that we created and saying that that's the reason why, stuff is hard and we can't this and we can't that. When the reality is it's people. Because the people have made everybody their savior, except themselves. So, Drew Ali told all the Moors, if I can get you to think, you'll save yourself. Which means you don't need grand sheik, grand governor, grand whatever, potentate, imperial dragon of the whatever, imam, pastor, whatever, bishop, whatever, pope, whoever. All of them are irrelevant. Because the reality is that we gotta get this, right? Because that paper hanging off the couch, right? Because it's getting heated right now. People are starting to realize what's going on, right? I know, yeah, as always, Islam to all the Moors worldwide because it's on. It's been on, but some of us are just catching game of what's up, right? It's been on, right? You have all these, quote unquote whistleblowers coming out, you know what I mean? Dropping this on the world, dropping that, telling this story, telling that story, telling all these corruption of whatever that's going on. You know what I mean? People are realizing, hey, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? The money and paper money and gold and silver and you know what I mean? Everybody. Right? But Noble Ali came telling people that in 1913. Same stuff that these whistleblowers talking about. Everybody's running to go watch their stuff, but they don't want to pay any attention to the prophet who, crashed the market in 1930. Really, 33 is only when they told people about it. But 1930, they were done for, right? So Islam to all the Moors who stay faithful and who continue to want to learn and evolve and grow their spiritual existence. because they realize that it's about what's within. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside, right? So things are going on right now. People are recognizing things, right? And people are recognizing that there's issues and recognizing that Noble Drew Ali proclaiming Moorish nationality, right? Um, um, having a creed, having a sense of taking responsibility for self, right? Okay, people are coming in with this mindset, with wanting to know more about what's up with the Moors, this Moorish thing, like how they talk. What do you mean Moors? What do you mean by Moors or whatever, right? So some questions, and if people have if people are active, right? So we're talking about, when we say active, we're talking about if somebody has a situation that you can relate to because it's relative because of the subject matter of the situation, right? And you're able to do something based on your moral status to fix that issue, right? Whatever you did shouldn't be secret. You should be telling everybody else who doesn't know how to do that, right? So the first question is, how do I claim nationality, right? And how you claim nationality is by studying, okay? Study what? Nationality. Study nationality. Study nationalities, right? Study empires, kingdoms, right? And recognize that when you're studying and you see Muslim and things related to quote unquote religion, but it's not Catholic, know that that's talking about dark skinned people, right? So study all that stuff, but before before you be overwhelmed and whatever like that, you can go to the online university rvbaypublications.com, where they have precise information dealing with how do I claim your nationality, sponged together on a website. So you're only getting specific information, and then from there you can go do research from there, right? So we tell people if they want to proclaim nationality, either go to the temple, right? Study there, right? Understand what this is about, and when the Spirit tells you, proclaim your nationality. Or if you can't find a temple, or there isn't a temple where you whatever, and there's all these reasons why you can't get to a temple, a Moor Science Temple of America, um, just do it online. Go to rvbaypublications.com. They got references, they got links, etc. And use there as a starting point to go anywhere else. It's not nothing to do with bias or nothing like that, right? It has to do with that's the spot to get the proper information. Period. Right? Like that's the spot. Rounded information about a little bit of everything. Not some stuff over here and only talk about Noble Drew Ali and Moor Science Temple and that's it. Like Noble Drew Ali wasn't universal. Right? And he didn't teach all these different perspectives. Okay? So use that as a reference, personally, right? Because you asked me the question, so I'm telling you that's where I would go if I wanted to find out nationality. Since I've been on this and I've, exercised and done certain things, and I know that this is real, that's where I came to the realization that this is real through studying through that site. And from that site, other stuff that is connected to that site that you might not know about now, but eventually with study you'll find out and you wouldn't be able to get gain. So How do you claim your nationality? It's all about mental, and then transferring the mental into the physical. Transferring the spiritual into the mental, into the physical. Transferring the Akashic records into the spiritual, into the, because it's a continuous cycle. Right? So it's not tomorrow, because you watch this today, tomorrow you're going to proclaim your nationality because you got to study. Right? And the problem is that because of people's malicious intent toward everybody being on the same mind frame, right? People taking the position of, dumbing down stuff. Yes, meet the people where they are and stuff like that. When Noble Drew Ali did that in 1913, told you, you're not Negro, black, colored. That's what we were being called back then. Basic. It's not even advanced anything. Basic stuff. But we don't want basic. We want calculus when we don't even know, bed mass. Right? So, proclamation of a nationality is based on your mentality. Right? And this is like for everybody because there's Moors, for example, right? Moore called me about a situation, right? Somebody got kidnapped or whatever. What do we do? Well, this person did this person said, this person said, this person said. Well, what I would do is I'll go to rvbapublications.com, go to the public record section, right? And read that stuff there. And when you read that, you'll figure out what to do. Because that's something that they did or that Moors did, right? That worked when somebody got kidnapped. So, if it worked, and they're telling you, this is how we did it. It's on the website here. Then implement. So, did whatever, implemented, waiting, no reply from them or whatever like that. You know what I mean?
This is from the kidnappers?
From the kidnappers, right? Court date comes up, usual threat, duress, and coercion, take a plea deal, right? And at least you're out. Reserve your rights when you sign everything. So, who cares? They're going after straw. That's cool. You guys do whatever you do, right? Because eventually there's a date that's going to come up where we got to put everything on the record about what was up with the case, right? So, the perspective that the individual had was that I've been hearing nothing from them. I mean, like, if this is if this process, now they weren't talking negative on it, you know what I mean? We're just building on it after, you know what I mean? And they were just saying, well, if this thing is supposed to work, I'm supposed to get some response or something, you know what I mean? Like what you're saying with Amari, right? That he did a certain process and then they gave him a response, right? So, not getting the response, the mentality was that they were already in the jurisdiction because they didn't respond.
That was their mentality?
That was their mentality, right? Because they had to go to court and then they had to go do and get a plea deal, you know what I mean? They had to go through the process, you know what I mean, of the railroading, right? Knowing that they're going to get railroaded, right? So they said, oh yeah, we'll just do time served, and just make a plea deal and we'll, whatever, court date next month, whatever. When the reality is that the writ worked. The reality is that them sending in that writ of habeas corpus and sending it to other people in whatever jurisdiction, right, put them on the spot because they did have him unlawfully. He did give him a nationality card. They did say, no, we don't want this or whatever, you know what I mean? We want to see it or whatever. So they're already in violation just for stopping them, for putting on the lights, they're in violation, right? This is the broad scope of what we don't accept as reality because we don't think that the Moorish whatever is that. No way. No way that's why. Yeah, that's why. I'm telling you that's why. Right? That you give them time served, they're gonna say, we're gonna release you a time served. Just because, you serve time. Serve time for what? I have no trial yet. What do you mean time served? Like how they say dead time up here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What do you mean I'm doing dead time? And the case didn't come up yet. So what if I do it? Like what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
These people realize, and this is in Texas too. And then, oh yeah, remember, San Antonio just won,
Mm-hmm.
right, the NBA championship.
Right.
But remember, Pilar El Day, she's also in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, you know, parties going up. And remember, these Moors just used the real habeas corpus and beat these people up.
Mm-hmm.
That they had to let this guy out
Mm-hmm.
and make up some stuff about time served and plea deals and whatever like that,
Mm-hmm.
when they know they don't have any jurisdiction. They're doing like what the Pope did with motu proprio, right? Put out a letter or whatever, you know what I mean? Make it seem like, they're down with righteousness and all this type of stuff because, we're putting out this letter. Those guys over there that are laundering money and whatever like that, right? So they can try to get rid of debt that they're going to get. Because if they can get the people to accept the fact that, no, the writ of habeas corpus didn't work, right? Because they still went through with the process, right? When the writ of habeas corpus worked, that's why they went through the process. Because they got caught. And if you're in the wrong, you have to make first move. Because a writ of habeas corpus is a claim.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person who can make any type of claim around here, Moors. Anybody else's claim is void.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll do whatever it is that they can to get us to say, oh yeah, give them a pass. Because they did the right thing or whatever. When it's criminals that we're dealing with,
Yeah, 100%.
right? Criminals that we're dealing with. Right? And all that, remember, all this that we're talking about is just with this, how do I claim nationality question or whatever. We even get into the real question that they ask.
Oh,
Right?
I thought that was
Because, exactly.
I thought you said
But
that was
this,
a question.
that's a question.
Oh, I see.
But that's just how deep that is. Just that question. For this is not for Adams already know this already.
Oh, yeah.
This is for new people coming into this to recognize how real this is. Right? That with a nationality is why Moors could do certain things. Don't worry about what news talking about and stuff like that. About paper terrorists and all this. Right? Don't worry about them. You worry about what you're supposed to do. Because they're doing what they're supposed to do, regardless of whether you proclaim a nationality or not. And we haven't had a nationality for, what, 600 years or whatever. Right? So if we haven't had a nationality for so long, maybe we should get on with the program. Just because we haven't had one for so long. We're the only people that never had a nationality. We're denied the right to use it. Calling people colors. Right? So we want to put some information out there, once again, just so that the Moors can take the position of doing for self. Because the priesthood's dead. And all they're about is funeral chants and all that right now. That's all that they're about right now. They've been only on that. There's no salvation other than you yourself being saved. Right? Which all comes back to the way that you save yourself is by understanding, knowing, being what, quote unquote, nationality you claim. Right? If you're in Americas, you better claim that you're a Moor. Because anything else is void. No standing. No judicial standing. Right? Um, White women captives in North America. Narratives of enslavement. Khalid Bakawi. Right? Just so you can know that even when we didn't have a nationality, there were people here exercising that nationality that Noble Drew Ali brought back to us. Right? Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that, that Buddha, right, is one of the prophets that we honor. Right? So we're going to throw up Phil Jackson's book, right, Zen Master, because that was real. So you're going to go get this right here. Right? Spiritual lesson of a hardwood warrior. Right? Sacred hoops. Right? And realize that, you know, he had Kobe and Jordan, all these guys doing meditation and stuff like that. Like real ones. Like playing in the dark. You're playing in the dark. Shut out the lights of the stadium, right? And give them the ball, play in the dark. And remember, this is not during all the, you know, all the years of winning. Right? Like once again, taking Moore's birthright. Right? You know, because the birthright is universal. He took an aspect that he felt comfortable with for himself and whatever, right? And applied that. When he goes into meditation or whatever, he's not no Phil Jackson on the other side. You know what I mean? Put out a book about it. Right? Not everybody is, you know, waiting for a savior. There's many people out there who are saving themselves and have saved themselves already. Using the principles, using the guidelines, same things that Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that they should get on. People are doing it today, getting somewhere with it. More complaining about issues. Right? October 13th. This is all the so-called quote-unquote natives or First Nations and whatever, those people who want to rep tribalism and not get down with nationality, thinking that tribe has some power on it with these Treaty of Verona doctrine of discovery pushers, right? Prime Minister Harper of the Harper corporate government sent out this tweet. Now the tweet had to do with the so-called prime minister of this corporation talking about they're gonna crush like the native whatever.
That's what he said?
Yeah, right. Now remember, this is the same people who signed on to the Declaration of stuff and all that with the UN.
I thought Harper didn't sign the Rights of Indigenous
Oh
People.
no, they had to get down.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, well, I mean after Barack did,
Okay. All right.
because you know the Union,
Right.
right? The North American Union is tighter than people think it is, right? Please understand, the Commonwealth country of Canada was created by electing common people to our House of Commons in Ottawa. These common people created the common law of our land. The only law of our land is common law. All other laws are corporate, criminal, tyrannical laws. Canada no longer has a representative government of the common people. Actually, Canada no longer has a people's representative government. It now only has a corporation pretending to be our government. The threat you read in the tweet applies to all First Nations on our land. So please understand that the Commonwealth country of Canada is also a First Nation. So now I want to mention about Harper's Crown Law mention. Canada is not governed by the imaginary, unreal crown. Canada is a democracy, and as such, no crown has any authority over we, the free people of the Commonwealth of Canada. This is a native talking.
Mm-hmm.
The crown he spoke of is only a fake corporate image. For those of you who are reading this that are not from Canada, the Harper tweet pertains to the Mi'kmaq Natives anti-fracking protests that are happening in New Brunswick, which is now on the east coast of Canada by the Atlantic Ocean. The natives have come under attack by privately paid police, or, sorry, not police, but officers that are running a fraud. Security officers, security agents, they're not even officers,
guards, right?
security guards, that obviously have been paid by a corporation to be there. Since we have no people's government, all the Royal Mounted Police vehicles that have license plates from other jurisdictions as far as the province of Nova Scotia and possibly Quebec, these for hire police, highwaymen, cannot be trusted. And these, if you call them police in the city, this is how the witchcraft works, right?
Yeah, but this guy's speaking from a native position,
Yeah,
is it not?
right.
So he's
But by calling them police, he's giving them the authority to whatever they're complaining about that they're doing.
but he's also out of his own jurisdiction by calling himself
By
native.
calling himself native, right? Security guards in Canada have been proven to engage in illegal activities such as they did at the G20 protests in Toronto by torching their own decommissioned police vehicles to make it appear as if the peaceful protesters are being violent. Since we the people do not have our own governments to protect us, the corporate governments can and do engage in any covert activities they choose. Such as possible planting guns and bombs in teepees at the anti-fracking native protests. Harper's tweet clearly states that he is applying non-democratic corporate crown laws that do not even exist in common law. Remember, truthers always sound insane when they are telling you what the insane corporate criminals are doing. The insane have no self-control. They only look to control we free people. Do not assume anything in life. Question everything with critical thinking. Then when you learn what truth is, it is your duty to spread the seeds of truth. So a healthy tree of life will grow and provide healthy food for thought. It is time for a revolution, a worldwide truth revolution. For if humanity is not guided into the future by truth, then we all are doomed, for we live in fear by obeying the dictates of the criminally insane corporate minds. For the insane seek no truth, nor do they speak any truth. Lieutenant Colonel Gordon Jack Moore, M-O-H-R, the early record of Jewish infiltration. The leaders of Freemasonry love to boast about their leadership in the French Revolution. So do the Jews. When the Bastille fell, said Bonnet, the speaker at the Grand Orient Assembly in 1904, Freemasonry had the supreme honor of giving humanity the chart which it had lovingly elaborated. On May 15, 1789, the Constitutional Assembly of France, of which more than 300 members were Masons, adopted, almost word for word, the form determined in lodges, which became known as the Declaration of the Rights of Man. It was a simple denunciation of the kingship of Jesus Christ and members in his holy body, the Church. The French state openly declared in this Masonic prepared document that they no longer acknowledged any duty towards God or Jesus Christ, and that they had no longer recognized the dignity of membership in the Christian church. It organized a vicious attack against Jesus Christ and his kingdom, which has been carried on relentlessly until the present day. That was their first step. The subservience of Freemasonry to Judaism soon showed itself. When the question of Jewish emancipation came up in the Constitutional Assembly, it was Masonic deputy Maribor who linked up with the Jews of Berlin and A. Dupont, who rendered the first secret service of Judaism by Freemasonry. There were many more such acts to follow. By 1789, the French state had completely ostracized Christianity while admitting Jews to full membership. This accounted for domination of state after state in Europe by Jews. During successive Masonic revolutions from 1789 to the Spanish Revolution in 1931, the world had heard of the enlightening reforms which separated church from state, which is really not separate. Right? With these forms came a proliferation of divorce, secularization of education, the suppression of Christianity, the neutralization of private property, and the unrestrained license of process for the glorification of world Zionism and Masonry. As early as 1922, the Assembly of the Grand Lodge of France began to work towards the formation of a United States of Europe as the forerunner of their federation of the world. In North America, Canada, and the United States, Masonry and Zionism worked hand in hand as they invited these two Christian nations to make up their sovereignty and enter a world federation which would be controlled by Masonic Jews. But we had enough patriotic congressmen in Washington at that time that their dream was disrupted and our entrance into the League of Nations was voted down. A Mason is not necessarily a member of a lodge. In a broad sense, he is any person who daily tries to live the Masonic life and to serve intelligently the needs of the great architect. There's a little more about Colonel Gordon Jack Moore. Right. Now, putting that out there, just to say that you got a call from somebody, and they were talking about that they were at this meeting, right? This Rastafarian meeting, and then as the Rastafarian meeting was going on, some Jews came in to the meeting.
European Jews.
Yeah, right. Talking about some type of
collaboration.
Right? Now, when we get more info, we'll let you know what's up. But things are going on around here.
They're trying to align the forces, is what you're saying.
They got to do something because people don't understand how much of a threat the Moors are to everybody.
This is probably in line with
because the priesthood's been dead.
This is sort of in the same vein as the scientists and the Nation of Islam.
Oh, the Scientology?
Yeah, so it's sort of along that same
vein. Yeah, you could say it, yeah. Right, because they
to
need the melanin,
and
right? Because time's pretty much up right now.
But also the sovereignty issue is the next basic thing too, right?
Right, and again, it comes back to
that's the backdoor way into getting back into this.
Right, because the only way that they can get back in is to get back in.
Yeah, but they can't do it they can't sort of come out and say that they were wrong or that this is right.
Right.
They can just sort of say, oh, we happen to be with these guys now, and they're right.
And they're onto something. But remember that when when they say the Rastafarians and the Jews, right? Just like they say the NOI and Scientology.
You're trying to say that they're still trying to make some kind of distinction as if it's different. Really, it's the same.
It's the same. not only is it the same, but it's bringing them back to more science. Because it wasn't no European Jews getting picked out of Spain or whatever.
Of course it wasn't. No,
Right?
but the whole misnomer or the misguided impression that the European Jew was the true Jew
Right.
is all just a fabrication as
Right.
well.
Exactly.
That was them stealing our
birthright
again.
Which again.
Right. But now they're trying to claim that, and they're trying to say, oh, we want to mix back with the
Because they
Rastafarian,
have to tie themselves back in to
who's
the melanin.
who's a few steps closer to this anyways.
Right? Because they're there, like it's not like the Rastafarians don't have the keys.
No, but they're still not.
But yeah, they're lacking.
But
Right,
they're still not actively, but they're still not taking those next steps that they need to take, right?
Right. Right. Which is, oh yeah, Islam to Brother Seth and Rabe for the weekend. If you didn't get to check it out, Canaanland Moors, Seth and Rabe Skype, move Skype. That was a good one. Islam to brother for that. I made a mention of North American Union. Right now, remember we're because we have to think to save ourselves, right? Our engagement with others has to be from the perspective of always correcting the wrong. Like when somebody says, "Oh, it was the black people," and then, "Oh, sorry, no. We don't do that around here. We don't do that when we have these conversations." Yeah, but the black, right? And make it a lesson so they know, right? Because it's again, it comes back to if the individuals, if the people aren't studying, right? They would easily get caught in a jurisdiction, not even know that they're in it. And then upon realizing that they're in it, right, panic that they're in the jurisdiction. Opposed to demanding those people that they put something up. Show me something. Even though I'm in the jurisdiction, I could still ask you. That's like we were talking about with if they get you under the straw.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to court and you happen to be under the straw. Mm-hmm. Then you question them on straw stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, you guys say, like we were talking about, you guys say I'm a minor. If you're going to tell me that I'm that name on that paper, then you're telling me that I'm a minor. If I'm a minor, why are you guys charging me or whatever? I'm a minor. You're going to hold minors responsible? Paint them in corners, even in the colored. Because if you're in the jurisdiction, you might as well just put it all out there since, you're in it.
So you want to be careful of contempt and those kind of things, right?
See, but when it's like, this is why we said from the jump, it's about studying. Yeah. So that this is something that right? It's something that is part of you. Right? It's part of you. Just like you know what I mean? Open your eyes in the morning, you're going to get off whatever you're sleeping on. Right? You don't have to think about it. That's just the natural move. Right? So that's to be that natural. Right? So when we research, go online and things like that, and they say things like American officers to police Canada. Right?
Again?
American officers to police Canada. Mm-hmm. Right? We have to recognize that there are no American officers. Because we're the Americans. Right? And we're the officers. Because we're the Moabites, who are the bailiffs. Who's the officer of court, but that's our office. Right? On May 27th, Peter Van Loan, former Minister of Public Safety for Canada, announced that he signed an agreement that would allow, quote-unquote, Americans to police on Canadian soil and allows Canadians to do the same. He said that the agreement should not be looked upon as Americans encroaching on Canadian jurisdiction
Wow.
because it is a joint effort between the two countries.
Oh.
Right?
Wow.
Remember, this is North American Union. That people say, yeah, it's coming, and like they don't stop their activity. They don't break like how we break. They are continually working at keeping their little sliver of hope alive. That the Moors don't take back over, because if the Moors take back over, these people are done for. Right?
It's strange to realize the karmic debt that's going to come on them is going to be something that they're not going to want to face.
That's what they're worried about. They're not worried about what Moors going to do to them.
It's about the spirit.
Right? Because Drew Ali told the Moors, Allah guides this. So if Allah guides this, then who has a chance against this? Who really has a chance against this? To say that, oh, they're not going to do, or they're going to,
Well,
right?
the only
Like,
chance that they really have is having us accepting some of the debt.
exactly. And the debt, which also would be, you know, untruth.
That's right.
Not just the
No,
debt of
No, I'm agreeing with
billion
that.
whatever,
No,
but
it would be-
untruths, which is also a debt
No, it would be the debt of agreeing with the injustice
with the injustice and the fraud,
and carrying it on.
right? They claim this new agreement, and again, this goes back to the, you know, forget how do I claim nationality, because, you know, you can't be what you are.
You can't be what you are.
Like, you are
What you are.
what you are.
You can't be something other
You
than.
can't be something other than what you are, right?
Well,
So we're Moors.
well, you can pretend to be
You
something
could,
other than.
yeah, you know,
And then you're going to get what you
but you're
deserve.
still,
But you're still a Moor.
you're still a Moor.
That's right.
You could pretend to be whatever you want.
You pretend to be black.
Yeah,
or
but
whatever.
you know,
you're still a
whatever
Moor.
you get, they're doing it to a Moor.
Right.
They're not doing it to a black or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
Hebrew or whatever,
Right.
right? And again, this is why we tell people to make sure they go get King Alfred plan, right? So you can know what is going on, what's been going on, and what's about to go on. And the only thing, right? Yeah, people are gonna say that, you know, well, no, that's not whatever, because, you know, look, that guy got kidnapped. Yeah, he got kidnapped, but he stood on his birthright. And he's out. Right? He's out. Because Moors took responsibility. They didn't sit back and chill, wait for something. They did. And then you're going to get a response. It might not be a phone, it might not be a letter, it might be, you know, your court date tomorrow, you need to be a court tomorrow. Right? They claim this new agreement started as a pilot program where they successfully stopped some illegal shipments of tobacco and marijuana. No mention of stopping any terrorists, though, just those two plants. As a result of their successful bust together, we can now look forward to foreign officials policing on Canadian soil, harmonized database with the United States, integrated border security for North America, RFID and biometric equipped driver's license and passports, two-tier border system using your threat assessment profile, new powers to the Ministry of Transportation to gather public information about you to build your threat assessment profile. For people out here, just to keep in mind, right, that the new powers to the Ministry of Transportation is that the Ministry of Transportation is Service Canada. No. Which is why they can do the gathering of public information and stuff like that through this so-called Ministry of Transportation that doesn't exist anymore. But they've ingrained that into people's minds so much, right, that they'll make the statement, Ministry of Transportation, and people's mind automatically goes to licenses and you know, tags and things like that, right? When it's way beyond that now, because you're talking about the people who've been gathering information from all these years, that they now put the pieces together now, that they have a central database called Service Canada that has everything as far as information is concerned on everybody. Right? And then remember, harmonized database with the United States. Right? So what are they doing? They're admitting that the United States and Canada are one. Whether you look at it from the political perspective, them saying, oh yeah, Canada's own government and then the United States' own government, that's a fraud because they're one.
While still retaining the power.
Right. Under the fraud.
Fraud.
That's created because of the people. Right? Not being there in their mind because they're not thinking for themselves. They're thinking for somebody else. Right? If you are in Canada, please research. Well, not anybody, just research, right? Please research. Ontario Bill 85, Smart Borders Declaration and Action Plan. The Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative. Horse Street Limited. Building a North American Community. Council of Foreign Relations document. Canadian Council of Chief Executives. Canadian American Border Trade Alliance. Right? So all the, so they have their thing set up where, all the big jurisdictional things are identified as America. Right? And then the next level down is, United States stuff. Then the next level down would be the NY, the FL, the whatever jurisdiction under. Right? They're just like here. When they say for international stuff, they say North America. They don't say Canada when they're talking to other people out there. Like the so-called prime minister is going as a representative for Canada that's part of North America. Not for Canada only. And, flag with a whatever on it. He's representing the bigger jurisdiction. Right? Power Corporation of Canada. North American Calibration Committee. Center of North American Studies. And the North American Forum on Integration. Oh yeah, and then another one too that I even know that Kanye's daughter is named Northwest. So,
Northwest?
Yeah. Yeah. Just something that's Northwest. Sir Josiah Stamp, Josihstamp, was a director of the Bank of England in the late 1920s. He made the following revealing comments about banking at a speech in London. The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding piece of sleight of hand that was ever invented. Banking was conceived in iniquity and born in sin. Bankers own the earth. Take it away from them, but leave them the power to create money, and with a flick of a pen, they will create enough money to buy it back again. Take this great power away from them, and all great fortunes like mine will disappear. For then, this would be a better and happier world to live in. But if you continue to be slaves of bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, then let bankers continue to create money and control credit. The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding sleight of hand that was ever invented. This sleight of hand was invented by the goldsmith bankers who issued promissory notes. It was just a simple but brilliant confidence trick. One trusted that promissory notes represented money, but they didn't. They were just promises to pay money backed by a fractional reserve. Sir Josiah acknowledges the fact that commercial banking is operating the same fractional reserve banking fraud perfected by the goldsmith bankers. By allowing banks to create credit, bankers can manipulate the economy. They can create many loans, inflate the money supply, and create a boom. Then they can, in concert, call in the loans, deflate the money supply, and cause a bust. By this process of inflation, creating new loans, and then deflation, calling in loans and not issuing new loans, bankers can manipulate the economy and acquire real wealth, land, houses, and businesses at a very cheap price. So with the flick of a pen from yesteryear or a few keystrokes of today, the bankers can manipulate the creation of credit so they can own the earth again. Once commercial banks are not allowed to create money by creating credit, the great fortunes of the bankers would disappear, and this would be a better and happier world to live in. But if you want to continue to be slaves of bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, then let bankers continue to create money and control credit. Every government in the world has a national debt. Most of us are in debt. We have mortgages, credit card loans, car loans, student loans, and more loans. It is no exaggeration to say that debt money makes us slaves. Unlike the slaves of yore, we do not fear getting whipped or beaten or starved by our masters. Instead, we fear losing our jobs, thereby losing our income and eventually our homes and possibly even our family. So you look up Josiah Stamp, director of the Bank of England in the late 1920s. And then you read all that stuff, and then you realize why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, if you have money in the bank, get it out. And if you don't get it out, then you're on your own. Because you've been warned since back then. And then nobody paying attention. Right? Nobody paying attention. Because the savior syndrome. Right? The savior syndrome. Okay? You have to be Christ unto yourself. Right? You have to be Christ unto yourself. If you're not Christ unto yourself, then trust me, somebody's going to enslave you. And then you see that he's holding the 5-point star, so you already know that somebody knew that, Jimmy was on it. Because they don't have him like Joshua in front of the sun in this picture, just because, he was a master unto himself based on his craft. He was the Christ of what he did. You know what I mean? Undeniable. Nobody's not going to question anything about it. Right? It's all about thinking so we can save ourselves. Right?
You watch it?
Yeah, right.
Huh?
Yeah, right? So Mr. Peabody and Sherman. If you've ever seen Mr. Peabody and Sherman, you have to go watch Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Another one, eh?
right? Just another one. Just another one.
I found the difference with this one, I thought now afterwards, because I was watching it a second time, because I was worried that maybe I overstepped my
No.
critical thinking, but what I realized is that I think this one is much more imagery
Yeah.
imagery oriented,
Yeah.
whereas the other one was much more sort of almost factually,
Right.
like, because I think Tintin was much more of a sort of political statement stuff
Right.
back then, right?
Yeah.
That used to be what it was about. This one seemed to me to be much more sort of about the imagery and how they were trying to pervert the imagery for their, but still giving you the information,
Sure.
but still trying to put their angle on
Yeah,
it,
their angle on it.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know, is that
Right.
where you were at? Or what we would say?
It was mainly the in between stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the dates, right? Like they're just dropping dates,
Dates.
like dates to the T, like
Because
bam, 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 bam.
that's
Like,
right.
oh my gosh, okay.
Why here?
Why these dates? You
That's
know
right.
what I mean?
That's right.
Um, the whole concept. You know what I mean? The going back in time and
That's right.
whatever.
And the
It's a
last
good
one that got
still.
me was, you know, when
Good
right
one.
at the end when the nose drops on the
Yeah,
back
when the
end.
no, yeah.
Like to me that was the
Right.
right? I mean that said something to it, right?
Yeah.
You got that all right.
It was good. It was good. Right. Multi-dimensional potential of human beings. And again, this ain't nothing new, you know, we're just revisiting stuff that, you know, Azariah been telling people, you know, Alim Bey been telling people, um, you know, you know, the Phil Valentine's, Hemmets, and all these people been telling people, right? But it takes time, and then sometimes things have to be revisited, so you can get a broader perspective of what we missed the first time, right? Profound evidence exists supporting the concept that human potentials are not confined to third dimension realities of height, breadth, and depth, or of matter, energy, space, and time. New scientific models for space-time transcendence are being researched, but human culture is rich regarding multidimensional and hyperspace phenomena experienced by the human psyche, which are analogous to some of the new scientific models. The most incredible journeys ever taken have been made within the realms of the human mind. Perhaps for some, these journeys are simply pleasant daydreams, mental travels to the faraway places on Earth. But for people who can mentally access other space-time continuums, people called multidimensionals, their journeys consist of far more than just imagining. Research has shown that multidimensionals can actually travel into hyperspace and have conscious visualization and perceptions of other time-space dimensions, including accessing information through their own DNA. Right? It's the same thing that everything Noble Drew Ali is telling people. Go back to the state of mind of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Because when you go back to the state of mind of your ancient foremothers and forefathers, you resurrect something. Like we were talking about in the last class. Every Moor who has a fez out there knows that the first time you put on a fez, something happens with the energy. As soon as you put it on, something was different with your existence, right? Often they speak of formulas, mathematical equations, and atomic structure in ways quite different from current scientific thought. The third dimension, which humans experience, exists within hyperspace as a subset or one of many dimensions. This reality, according to theoretical physicists, may also be one of many, many parallel universes. In his book Hyperspace, Michio Kaku, Michio Kaku, ably demonstrates that the existence of higher dimensions and hyperspace is well grounded in scientific principles. Today's theoretical physicists have clearly defined hyperspace, introducing the existence of wormholes or tunnels between dimensions, alternate universes, and again, theoretically, have postulated access to both past and the future. Most of these physicists are searching for ways to access hyperspace by amechanical third-dimensional means, which they ain't going to be able to do. You already know, melanin's not running nothing out there. That's a machine. But history relates that there has been an abundance of people who, through their minds, have had the potential, sometimes developed into ability, to access higher dimensions. These people have been called prophets, seers, diviners. Even science fiction writers such as H.G. Wells and Jules Verne have shown uncanny knowledge of the future in both their inventions and their writings. Matter first, being pure energy. Everything which exists was first an idea, pure energy, right? Go back to the state of mind of the ancient foremothers and forefathers. Right? Then material matter, formed energy, was acquired with the energy-formed idea of money, work, time, and effort. The creation was then made by assembling the matter in a certain structure, with the structure being the end product, without regard to the potential of the transformed energy, except as more matter, profit, or consumer goods. The third dimensional dynamic is matter to matter, not energy to matter to energy. The human mind affects in pure energy. Humans constantly create energy forms in their minds by means of their thoughts. Mind blocks misinform that these thoughts are self-contained within the mind and go nowhere. This constitutes the greatest fallacy of the mind blocks. It has been proven over and over again in all the scientific disciplines, from nuclear physicists to astronauts sending messages from the moon to Earth, that thoughts have a definite physical impact on and over matter. Lack of knowledge of the effects of the energy created when the energy matter is changed. Massive experiments and testing of weapons has occurred worldwide. Scientists do not know the long-term effects of these experiments and tests will have on the planet and all life forms. These tests continue, despite vast amounts of scientific documentation and research on the detrimental effects of nuclear radiation, electromagnetic pollution, and the admitted depletion of the ozone layer. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project, HARP, on the northern slopes of Alaska includes experiments in ionosphere heating of hitherto unknown magnitude and the bouncing of dangerous electromagnetic waves off the ionosphere to Earth. And that's like some low-level stuff, HARP, no. No, HARP ain't nothing. That's like basic, right? So the mind, nobody really challenged the Moors to, raise the vibration of your mind, right? Raise the vibration of your mind.
Funny that you talking about that. Book Dark Light Consciousness, Non and Serpent Power, and just right. You can show it up and then.
Yeah. Right. Dark Light Consciousness. I know some of the Moors have this because that's one of those ones.
So then, what he writes, which is interesting, I was just reading this on the bus. There is also the sacred disciplined use of naturally growing herbs and consciousness-altering drugs. The world's indigenous peoples have a rich store of sacred medications that induce vivid hallucinatory states. Some of those DMT for one, are already produced in small amounts by the pineal gland. Others come from the storehouse of nature, e.g. psilocybin, peyote, amenta, muscura, whatever. What is critical here is that the sacred medication is taken within a disciplined cultural context of elders and teachers, so that when the doors of perception are open, the inductee knows how to get through them. It is not a recreational sport or pastime. The use of hallucinatory and radical mood-altering drugs in popular culture today is at its root an attempt to enter those states of mind and ego transcending luminosity that empty into the pathless ecstasy of God. But we are woefully lacking in the sacred community necessary to sustain the insights about spirit and consciousness that flow from these experiences. and the ability to structure them into our waking state consciousness. After a brief, undisciplined glimpse into the ecology of the radiant divine, the experience often descends into a morass of emotional contraction, illusion, and desperation. The drama becomes a faulted search, a desperate grasping for the fading echo of the boundless light. Further attempts promise a return to the inexplicable, but in actuality, promises a return to the inexplicable, but in actuality only digs a deeper grave for the dying mind. Still, we must acknowledge that the drug served as a strong detergent to clean the cloth in order to see, however briefly, the brilliance and and color underneath it.
Hmm.
So to me, yet again, it's the same truth from a different angle in terms of, we talk about finding our culture.
Yeah.
They talk about certain cultures using certain herbs
Right.
to reach it, but it still is the
Still
same light,
We're going to the light.
right?
Yeah.
So ultimately, this is, I think, what we're talking about, which is, however, I think I mentioned this in one of these little books that I read, that it says there are many paths to the
Right.
mountaintop,
Yeah.
but the mountaintop is still love, which
Right.
is the divine. Right? So anyway, sorry.
Yeah. David Walker's appeal. To the colored citizens of the world, but in particular, and very expressly to those of the United States of America. David Walker's Appeal is a landmark work of American history and letters, the most radical piece of writing by an African American in the 19th century. Startling in its intensity, unrelenting in its attacks on slavery and white racism, it alarmed Southern slaveholders, inspired Northern abolitionists, and hastened the selection conflicts that led to the Civil War. David Walker was born in or near Wilmington, North Carolina, right? The son of a slave father and a free black mother. Thus, under the laws of slavery, he was born free. The year of his birth is uncertain, although the most convincing recent research contends that it was 1796 or 1797. By his own account in the appeal, Walker left Wilmington as a young man and wandered around the United States, residing for an unspecified period in Charleston, South Carolina. In 1825, he turned up as a used clothes dealer in Boston, where he would spend the rest of his abbreviated life. He died suddenly in 1830. We'll go to page 65. I will give here a very imperfect list of the cruelties inflicted on us by the enlightened Christians of America. First, no trifling portion of them will beat us nearly to death if they find us on our knees praying to God. They hinder us from going to hear the word of God. They keep us sunk in ignorance and will not let us learn to read the word of God, nor write. If they find us with a book of any description in our hand, they will beat us nearly to death. They are so afraid we will learn to read and enlighten our dark and benighted minds. They will not suffer us to meet together to worship the God who made us. They brand us with hot iron. They cram bolts of fire down our throats. They cut us as they do horses, bulls, or hogs. They crop our ears and sometimes cut off bits of our tongues. They chain and handcuff us, and while in that miserable and wretched condition, beat us with cowhides and clubs. They keep us half naked and starve us sometimes nearly to death under their infernal whips and lashes, which some of them shall have enough of yet. They put us 56 they put us 56 sixes and chains and make us work in the cruel situation and in sickness under lashes to support them and their families. They keep us 300 or 400 feet underground working in their mines night and day to dig up gold and silver to enrich them and their children. They keep us in the most death-like ignorance by keeping us from all source of information and call us who are free men, and next to the angels of God, their property. Right? David Walker's appeal. They keep us in the most death-like ignorance by keeping us from all source of information, and call us, who are free men, and next to angels of God, their property. They make us fight and murder each other, many of us being ignorant, not knowing any better. They take us, being ignorant, and put us as drivers over one another, and make us afflict each other as bad as they themselves afflict us. And to crown the whole of his catalog of cruelties, they tell us that we, the blacks, are an inferior race of beings, incapable of self-government. We would be injurious to society and ourselves if tyrants would lose their unjust hold on us, that if we were free, we would not work, but would live on plunder or theft, that we are the meanest and laziest set of beings in the world, that they are obliged to keep us in bondage and do us good, that we are satisfied to rest in slavery to them and their children, that we ought not to be set free in America, but ought to be sent away to Africa, that if we were set free in America, we would involve the country in a civil war, which assertion is altogether at variance with our feeling or design, or we ask them for nothing but the rights of man, for them to set us free and treat us like men, and there will be no danger, for we will love and respect them and protect our country, but cannot conscientiously do these things until they treat us like men. How cunning slaveholders think they are! How much like the king of Egypt, who after he saw plainly that God was determined to bring out his people, in spite of him and his, as powerful as they are, he was willing that Moses, Aaron, and the elders of Israel, but not all the people, should go and serve the Lord. But God received him well, but God deceived him, as he will Christian Americans, unless they are very cautious how they move. What would have become of the United States of America, was it not for those among the whites who not in words barely, but in truth and in deed love and fear the Lord? Our Lord and Master said. And then it goes on, but that's page 66 of 88 pages, right? And he goes pretty deep, right? We want to put a one plug out there. Moorritz.blogspot.ca, right? So Moorritz, MOORWRITS .blogspot.ca. An introduction. Islam, greetings, welcome. This is, Allah willing, the first of many posts expounding on writs. Moors have, through much trial and many errors, learned that they can expect to receive hold on there. All right. Moors have, through much trial and many errors, learned that they can expect to receive no justice in the courts of our pale-skinned European occupiers. Therefore, we are beginning to exercise our powers as rulers of this land and are using writs to appropriate parties demanding performance of specific acts or ceasing thereof. The Moors of Canaanland have partnered with Sister Tahira Naji Ula El of Khalif Law based in Los Angeles to gather those Moors seeking to perfect this process and make far too costly in time and resources to continue the oppression of our people in Amexem. We invite and encourage like minds to please join us in the efforts, as many hands make light work. Please contact me at Khalifa Law, CALIFA LAW @gmail.com to be added as a contributor to this blog. right? khalifalaw@gmail.com. In the meantime, let us begin. And what better place to begin than at the beginning? A wise Moor once instructed me as follows: paralegals write affidavits, lawyers counsel worst case scenario, attorneys write motions, judges and those in power to act in such write writs. Pursuant to Key 93, as rulers of this land, we are endowed by the great God Allah with the power to act as judges until such time as we establish our own courts, tribunals, etc. This is not necessarily applicable to all Moors in all situations. I'm going to leave the European here long enough for you to learn how to run government, Nobuju Ali. When dealing with a corporation, such as a credit agency, debt collector, or other private company, it is well and good for the individual Moor to exercise their rights and issue writs demanding production of certain items, discovery. However, when dealing with a court or other government, it has been our experience that writs addressed to one government come from another, namely your temple. Therefore, it is proper for a said writ to be signed and sealed by the head of your temple, just as it is done between other nations. Writ, a precept in writing, couched in the form of a letter, running in the name of the king, president, or state, issuing from a court of justice, and sealed with its seal, addressed to a sheriff or other officer of law, or directly to the person whose actions the court desires to command, either as a commencement of a suit or other proceeding as an incidental to its progress, and pertaining and requiring the performance of a specified act or giving authority or commission to have it done. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. So as you see per the definition, a properly executed writ must come from the head of an organized group, temple in our case, and be signed and sealed by an appointed head, grand sheikh, etc. As mentioned in the beginning, this is a collaborative effort, a brain trust, if you will. Please restrict your comments to that which will build us up. We have for far too long been tearing one another down, whether the intention was well meant or not. I look forward to your constructive comments. Peace and love. So that's moreritz.blogspot.ca. And also, Canaan Law Appeals, CANLAWAPPEALS.blogspot.ca. Fair warning, this post and those to follow under this heading may come off as less than enthusiastic. As Moors know, the occupiers have set up their personal fiefdoms to pillage the true rulers of this land. We commonly know them as courts. While trial courts regularly violate our rights, necessitating an appeal process, there are no guarantees we will actually have our constitutional rights protected or acknowledged until reaching the only real court of justice, which is also corrupt. As Moors know, we are not to petition, but to demand our rights as the original people of this land via the writ process. Unfortunately, not all of us are at the point yet. Or rather, we as Moors have to deal with those who aren't. If you are like the majority of Moors, treating religion as law, law as religion, we don't have legal problems because we know who we are, therefore know who you're dealing with and how best to deal with them. Due to our prowess in staying above and fray and out of that system, sleepy Moors think we have skills in checking these fraud courts and their fraud officers. While we may know the rules and how to apply them, what they fail to recognize is that we are dealing with criminals, pirates to be exact. Piracy in criminal law, a robbery of forceful depredation on the high seas, without lawful as opposed to legal authority, done amino furandi in the spirit and intention of universal hostility. There is a distinction between the offense of piracy, as known as know the law of nations, which is which is justiciable anywhere, and offenses created by statutes of particular nations, cognizable only before the municipal of such nations. There you go. Those versed in law should be picking their jaws up by now. Before you do, let's look at the definition of pirate. Pirate, a person who lives by piracy, one guilty of the crime of piracy, a sea robber, who, to enrich himself by subtly or open force, setteth upon merchants and other trading by sea, despoiling them of life and sinking their ships. One who acts solely on his own authority, without any commission from a sovereign state, seizing by force and appropriating to himself without discrimination every vessel he meets with him. Robbery on the high seas is piracy, but to constitute the offense, the taking must be felonious. Consequently, the quo amino may be inquired into. Pirates are common sea rovers, without any fixed place of residence, who acknowledge no sovereign and no law, and support themselves by pillage and depredation at sea. But there are instances wherein the word pirata has been formally taken for a sea captain. Note, the pirates we are dealing with are recognized by a sovereign nation, the Crown. Their queen issues to them marks of commission known commonly as barcards. The vessels referred to would be us, the aboriginal people of this land. These pirates did not move against anyone the way they do against us for fear of the consequences incurred when the other nations find out. Again, those versed in law are aware that upon appointment, judges must surrender their corporate nationality, thereby rendering them sea rovers without any fixed place of residence. That rant aside, I now delve into the depths of wasted time or wasted life as I see it. Allah be with me. So Canaanland Law Appeals.blogspot.ca. Another thing that we have put on the record, we got some time still. Yeah, no spell check. No spell check on that last one. Names and addresses of remaining 8 imprisoned MOVE members if you'd like to write them. Sister Lewis Africa, who we had to Skype with on Sunday with Brother Seth and Rabe, made a request that we put the names of the MOVE members that are still incarcerated, pretty much doing life in prison for a crime they didn't commit, so that the people out there, specifically, to be honest with you, Moors, could write them. You know what I mean? And just send them some literature, send them some energy, send them some anything, because what we recognized after doing this this presentation with MOVE, with Sister Lewis Africa about MOVE, is that they were strict when it came to humanitarian principles, right? And that's Noble Drew Ali teaching, that's Buddha teaching, that's Yahshua's teaching, that's Herod teaching, the Hermetica and all this type of stuff, right? Universal laws and all that, right? So, we're gonna give them their honors and suggest that you send something, pick one and send something to them. All right. Also, too, once again with Moors, right? Just try stuff, just see what happens. You know what I mean? Who knows? Anything could happen. The name and address, first and foremost, to get out of the way, is the parole board, right? For the chairman of the parole board, Michael Pottiger, MICHAEL POTTEIGER, GER, Chairman of the Parole Board. 1101 South Front Street, Suite 5100, Harrisburg, PA 17104. Right, Michael Pottinger, Chairman Parole Board, 1101 South Front Street, Suite 5100, Harrisburg, PA, Pennsylvania 17104. Names of remaining 8 imprisoned MOVE members. The woman, Debbie Sims, SIMS, DEBBIE, Debbie Sims Africa, number 006307. Janet Holloway Africa, JANET Africa, number 006308. Janine Phillips Africa, JANINE PHILLIPS Africa, number 6309. And their mail could go to 451 Fullerton Avenue, FULLERTON Avenue, Cambridge Springs, PA 16403. 16403. 451 Fullerton Avenue, Cambridge Springs, PA 16403. Debbie Sims Africa 006307. Janet Holloway Africa 006308. Janine Phillips Africa 6309. Not sure how come her zeros are gone, but the men, Charles Sims Africa, CHARLES SIMS Africa, number capital AM 4975. William Phillips Africa, WILLIAM PHILLIPS Africa, capital AM 4984. Delbert Orr Africa, DELBERT ORR Africa, number AM 4985. And you can mail them at 1000 Follies Road, FOLLIES Road, Dallas, PA 18612. Michael Davis Africa, AM 4973. Michael Davis Africa, AM 4973. P.O. Box 244, Graterford, PA, GRATERFORD 19426. Edward Goodman Africa, Edward Goodman Africa, number AM 4974. And his location is 301 Moray Road, MOREA Road, Fratville, PA 17932. Note, sadly, a ninth move member, our sister Merle Africa, cycled or died in prison in March 1998, having spent the last 20 years of her life there. Right, so that's all the addresses for the MOVE members, and that's put out by Sister Louise Africa. So you can put that in your note, just that, Louise Africa was the one that told you send the letter. Yeah, Moria Road, I caught that one. And not only Moria Road, but Follies Road, because it's just a folly that these guys are running, holding these people in prison for no reason, right? Um, there was something else too. But yeah, Moria Road, that one, that one got me. That one got me too, boy. um, now we talk about verifying verifying our position as Moors. You know that it's not something we have to try to prove to people or whatever. We have to prove it to ourselves, right? So we'll keep it simple for our people, right? Nature Ceylon, Moroccan mint green tea, right? Ceylon is Sri Lanka. Why is Sri Lankans putting out Moroccan mint tea if Ceylon and Morocco aren't relative, right? They are relative. Because everybody knows that, Ceylon is where tea, that's tea's home. Ceylon, okay, well, all Ceylon has, as far as mint tea, they only sell Moroccan mint tea. This is different people, different companies. Got Moroccan mint tea. But they're Ceylon. That's Sri Lanka. What Sri Lankan have to do with Morocco? If they're not relative. It's all Asia. Right? Um, Fahid Judah El. Fahid Judah El. The Moors and Moroccan cuisine. There's something other chefs out there. People like to get fat. Get some, get some Moroccan fatness with it. Um, right. Once again, right. Moroccan tea is a different company, but it's Ceylonese. Ceylonese Moroccan tea. And we know that Ceylonese are our brothers in Asia. Right? Um, Prophet makes a plea to the nation, right? Not a plea to the Moor Science Temple, not a plea to Moors, not a plea to grand sheiks and grand governors or whatever. Plea to the nation, right? Plea to the nation. Our divine and national movement stands for the specific grand principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And I, the prophet, am applying to all loyal, faithful Moors, members, and the American citizens to help me in my great uplifting acts of uplifting fallen humanity among the Asiatic race and nation. For I have suffered much and severely in the past through misunderstanding of what the movement was dedicated to. It is the great God alone, it is the great God Allah alone that guides the destiny of this Moorish movement, Moorish divine and national movement. I know all true American citizens are identified by national descent names to answer and apply to the free national constitution of this free national republic of the United States of America. That's why I am calling on all true national citizens to help me morally and financially in my great work I am doing to help this national government. For without a free national name with the descent flag of your forefathers, there is not a national divine title of the government in which we live. This is from your true and divine prophet unto all American and foreign sympathizers, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Right? So we know that he was a statesman. Right? We know that he went over and beyond for the Moors. Right? To hit these questions again, got some time still left. Um, and Moors, if Moors out there got answers for some of these, and you don't mind your email or whatever being put out there, just throw it in the chat, right? Or your website or whatever like that, so we can get you know these people to reach out to you. Um, um, the next question was, how do I contract the other parent to visitation, vaccines, etc.?
What?
How do you contract the other parent? So a situation, let's say it's a situation of, baby daddy or baby mama drama, right? And there's a child involved,
Right.
right? And one of the parties is on nationality and birthright,
Doesn't want the child being.
and doesn't want them vaccinated and doesn't want whatever, and then the other one is,
Like down.
yeah, is down with the fraud,
Right.
right? Um, how is the best way to deal with that? So, there's people out there that going through that have gone through that. You know, you can one spot you can hit up is Khalifa Media, right? If you hit up Khalifa Media, right, that sister could help you out because she studies and she has writs and stuff like that that can assist, right? CAL.
She would send those words to the school possibly.
Right, yeah. It would be for the that individual to
To
you know to study and know what it is that they have to do, right? But you can't really contract somebody who's not gonna be game for the contract,
National can't contract
right?
with corporate, right?
Well, that too, national contracting with the corporate, but in the sense of um, visitation and vaccines and stuff like that, if the other party is gonna do that, they're gonna do that, especially if they have some, what I mean, vendetta or whatever like that,
Although they're also going to have the backing of
of the fraud to
funny because I have a same related situation there where the father didn't want the daughter watching some Harry Potter thing, so he went to the school and said he didn't want his daughter being involved with watching Harry Potter because he
Yeah.
thought it had to do with witchcraft.
yeah,
They very quickly said, okay, we don't want to get involved in this.
Yeah.
So every time Harry Potter came up, the
child had to leave the class or whatever,
went to the class. But what I sense is that on things like these vaccinations and stuff,
yeah,
because it feeds their system,
yeah, the system, it's right.
that fight probably is not going to be one.
So yeah, so it's like like somebody saying online, it's not gonna guarantee, right? You contracting or you trying to contract with that other party isn't gonna guarantee that they're gonna stop or they'll be down with whatever. You know what I mean? People are different, so um, you know if you have to. You can show them the consequences of the vaccination, someone's saying on the chat, but you could even do that and they still don't want to get done with it. Like I know somebody that's in that situation right there.
Right.
That they even brought the stuff, stacks and stacks of stuff. Well, this is what vaccination or whatever. I don't care about that or whatever. That's a conspiracy and, we're going to go get vaccination. So then you just got to leave it up to the higher power and, whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen.
Something,
Like,
I think the unfortunate thing I have to say, and I have personal experience, to me, it's about making the right choice back before this.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Natal charts and all that type of stuff. But now you could instill that in the children so they don't.
Make the same
You
mistake.
know what I mean? Make sure they know about. Make sure stuff's lined up before you go with somebody because
This is
the
what
the, the
happens.
repetitive, and it's common in our
I
in
think,
our
I think that, I think that's another part of the fragmented issue for
yeah
us,
amongst our people, yeah.
which is that they destroyed that part of our culture.
Right.
So what we do have is we have a lot of children
Raising
who are adults now.
children.
Well, children raising children for sure, right? But also children of relationships that weren't balanced.
Right.
So therefore the
So therefore
child
the child's imbalanced.
imbalance,
Yeah.
and that's what's
Right.
created
Creating the
this
cycle.
this higher thing where we could have probably lifted ourselves out of this ages ago
Right.
if the children were all balanced, right? But the imbalance was then fed upon by the controlling
Right. Occupiers.
occupiers,
The
right?
pirates.
Right.
Right. The pirates. So now what you could do is you could do everything in the background, you know. So know that whatever is happening or whatever, but you know, you're still gonna have your rich, just like you're saying with the dad going in, you know, the dad taking the position of, well, you know, since you're not gonna whatever, then I'm gonna do it.
What do you mean by that? You're gonna
Like,
file the writ.
yeah, file the writ,
Anyway.
regardless.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, you're right, because
It's like, because you're still the parent.
that may
You know what I mean?
then
And
cause the
the other
controlling
one,
powers to then say, hey, we're not gonna get
we're not even
involved
gonna
in
get
it.
involved.
But what I'm saying is that
Mhm.
I think on this kind of issue, these people have some vested interest in making sure that we get inoculated, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna, well, I'm not saying, hey, do what you get, I think they're gonna do the right.
Yeah.
At least send the writs out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but again, it comes back to study and knowing what it is that, you know, you're doing, what position you're taking, right?
But
Same
that would
thing.
then probably taking the child out of that position too, or at least putting the
No, well,
child.
that's why I'm saying that you do it in the background,
Good.
you know, certain things, because I mean, you know,
Oh, you're saying
unless you have no notice of what's going on, but if you get notice of what's going on in the child's life,
Mhm.
right? Like you get notice that, you know, vaccination day is coming up at school.
All right.
You send the writ as
No,
the
I'm
dad,
agreeing.
like, hey, you know what? Ain't
I'm
no
agreeing with that, but
vaccination going on.
what I'm saying is that I think you would then have to probably nationalize your child too, wouldn't you? Or would that be part of the process?
Yeah, well, you'll be talking about that in the
writ,
in the writ.
right?
So Ali said, you know, don't throw away a slave name. Just put L on that
Right.
for now,
Yeah.
until we
Clip.
get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At least exercise clicked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, same question. How do I address the court to get visitation? You know, so it comes back to that same thing. Like, they're criminals, they're pirates, and if they already, I mean, you know, you can do stuff again. You know, it's just like with the habeas corpus. You know, you take
Well,
a shot
you
in
know,
the dark, see, you might hit something.
Let's think about this. Remember that saying, what do you call it? Abandoned or leaves the ship. What do you call them? Someone who jumped ship.
Yeah.
The sister that we helped out,
Right.
regaining her children.
Mm.
I wonder if writing a writ around the rights of indigenous people to the same courts.
No, well, remember that there would be, if it's visitation, right? The court or children's services or whoever already has that individual as
Their property.
their property. The one that set up the visitation. The one that signed, that has the contract with the parent. The other
who
parent
signed with
with the fraud, who's down with the fraud.
Who's down with the fraud
Yeah.
has already sold the child to them.
Already.
But don't you think you as indigenous, the rights of an indigenous person would have a right to their child?
Yeah, but that individual, that block, that bar called parent that works for whoever else,
Right.
right? They're the block. It's just like when you tell somebody, yeah, my nationality, whatever. No, we don't want to see that. We want to see some ID or whatever. Right. And they kidnap you. First place they're going is their parents' house.
Right.
Because the parent more than likely is going to say, I don't know him as, you know, Kudrow, but I do know him as Kevin. He has a birth certificate and his SIM card number, and he works at or whatever.
So you're saying
right?
that they're then looking for
For
corroborating.
overseer.
They're looking for corroborating
Somebody
evidence to back their position.
to buy their position.
But what
But
I'm
the
saying,
individual that's saying that I want visitation,
right?
right? You have to go through that person that denied it, not the court.
Aren't you on equal footing with them?
You're
I'm
on
just
equal, yeah, but the individual who set up the contract for visitation,
right.
they personally signed something saying he's not seeing him or she's not seeing the child.
I guess what you're saying is
So you,
ultimately
that has nothing to do with the court. It has to do with your relationship with this
right.
individual
Well,
that
because
that you're
ultimately the
with.
court has given that
That person
the power of attorney.
exactly, and with regard to the matter, not the child.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree
with
with that.
regard to the matter.
With regard to the matter. So it might then, but that's why I'm saying maybe it would then be with the courts. That
Yeah,
they
but that's
would,
what I'm saying. The court thing. What's the court going to do? The court, if it goes to court, the court's going to say, so you want him to have visitation?
right. Oh, you're saying it's going to be that kind of game.
And the court will be like, and they'll be like, no, I don't know what he's gonna do. He starts wearing these
So what
funny
you're
hats and
saying is
all
that
and stuff
ultimately
like
what
that.
happens, it's one of these flip back and forth things where
Because they have an agent working for them.
right, and that agent
That's done with the fraud.
and that
That's
agent
oblivious to the fact that you're getting played
and that
by
agent
those people
is
that you think are helping you.
is intimately connected with the
Right.
situation by being a parent.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So, um, right now to put out there again, hit up Khalifa Media, right? Go to Khalifa Media, just Google it, site will come up, right? You go Khalifa Media and you send an email, and then you'll get a reply, right, with regard to your situation, because certain questions have to be answered by individuals that have executed the process, right? That's the only way this is going to get answered. Certain questions,
Because we don't know.
because it's not something that is run of the mill. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody comes, it's not really, most of the time, it's it's a family, you know what I mean, that got their child taken or something like that. Or, even if it is a single parent, it's not like there's any
Sort of
rift between, you know what I mean?
contradicting situation.
Exactly, But some of our people got some shit going on, that it's a lot, right? So, something censored on their chats. But anyways, so also too, we're just gonna do our weekly Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by Noble Drew Ali. We're at chapter 2, Education of Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan, Egypt. The son of Herod Archelaus reigned in Jerusalem. He was a selfish, cruel king. He put to death all those who did not honor him. He called in council all the wisest men and asked about the infant claimant to his throne. The council said that John and Jesus both were dead. Then he was satisfied. Now Joseph, Mary, and their son were down in Egypt in Zoan, and John was with his brother in the Judean hills. Elihu and Salome sent messengers in haste to find Elizabeth and John. They found them. They brought them to Zoan. Now Mary and Elizabeth were marveling much because of their deliverance. Elihu said, "It is not strange. There are no happenings. Law governs all events. From olden times it was ordained that you should be with us and in the sacred school be taught." Elihu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out of the sacred grove nearby where they went to teach. Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, "You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock of sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. We measure time by cycle ages, and the gate to every age we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. An age has passed. The gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of the soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah in man. And these your sons will be the first to tell the news and teach the gospel of good will to men and peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs, for carnal men want not the light. They love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. We call these sons revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. And you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah and debased himself. Teach that the holy breath would make them one again, restoring harmony and peace, that naught can make them one but love, that Allah so loved the world that he has clothed his Son in flesh, that man may comprehend. The only Savior of the world is love, and Jesus, son of Mary, comes to manifest that love in them. Now love cannot manifest until its way has been prepared, and naught can rend the rock and bring down lofty hills and fill the valleys up and thus prepare the way but purity. But purity in life men do not comprehend, and so it too come in flesh. And you, Elizabeth, are blessed because yours is purity made flesh, and he shall pave the way for love. This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love, but not a word is lost, for the book of Allah's remembrance, a registry is made of every thought, word, and deed. And when the world is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open the book and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. Then every man of earth will read the works of life in language of his native land, and men will see the light, walk in the light, and be the light. And man again will be one with Allah.
Wow.
Islam. Right? So the objective, the purpose is to not be carnal men, right? Not be dimmers of the light, right? We have to be revealer of the light, right? We have to take that idea that Noble Drew Ali brought to us, right? For us to think so we can save ourselves. Because we are it. We are the sons and daughters that, you know what I mean, have been given the opportunity, right, to take these divine lessons that was brought back into circulation by the noble prophet, and to present them to humanity.
Well, I think it also, I think it says in one of the further, maybe side of the Red Book about basically we have to live the life of purity.
Right.
To then be the example. The teacher will walk in all the ways.
Right.
Right. A block can point the way.
Right.
The block doesn't
have any ears to hear or whatever. Right. Since we're talking about that. Chapter 3, Ilahi's Lessons, the Unity of Life. Again, Ilahi met his pupils in the sacred grove and said, no man lives unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will love and not demand love in return. They will not do to other men what they would not have other men do unto them. There are two selves, the higher self and lower self. The higher self is human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of Allah. The lower self, the carnal self, The body of desires is a reflection of the higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of the flesh. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is Allah in man and will not pass away. The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self is truth reversed, and so is falsehood manifest. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is the way, the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms. The, the higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gain, but gives unrest, misery, and death. It gives men apples, that they are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their cores are full of bitterness and gall. If you would ask me what to study, I would say yourselves. And when you will have studied them, and then would ask me what to study next, I would reply, yourselves. He who knows well his lower self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away. And he who knows his higher self knows Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. Thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. Men seek salvation from an evil that they deem a living monster of the netherworld, and they have gods that are but demons in disguise, all powerful, yet full of jealousy and hate and lust, whose favors must be bought with costly sacrifice of fruits, and the lives of birds and animals and humankind. And yet these gods possess no ears to hear, no eyes to see, no heart to sympathize, no power to save. This evil is a myth. These gods are made of air, clothed with shadows of a thought. The only devil from which man must redeem is self, the lower self. If man would love his devil, he must, if man would find his devil, he must look within. His name is self. If man would find his savior, he must look within. And when the demon self has been dethroned, the savior love will be exalted to the throne of power. The David of the light is purity, who slays the strong Goliath of the dark and seats the savior love upon the throne.
Wow.
Wow. Ah. Right? Got 2 minutes. Don't forget, Noble Drawley, Plenipotentiaries, and the Negro Black Colored Addiction. The new book, Brother Cujo. It's on Amazon. Right? Show some support. I know some Moors got it already, so give thanks to those Moors for stepping up.
You gonna have it in the top?
Yeah, I'm gonna get some copies done. And also too, remember 9:30, Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open, and 9:30. And the book's also available in ebook, for people who don't want to have the little pad. You know what I mean? That's your book now, so you can get it so you can read on your pad.
So those that come from Amazon too?
Yeah,
And they sell you, they
Yeah.
download you
yeah. The download. Right? So, Islam Moors, peace, love, and Hotep. You already know, worldwide. Send a shout out to all the Moors worldwide. Um, Iron Sheik 5 was supposed to be dropping, but we're gonna get some more work done first. We got some heavy hitters, some secret people in the vault,
Okay.
We got some more stepping up to the plate. So, we gotta give them their space to say whatever they gotta say
On the album?
on the new album, right? Oh yeah. So today, David Walker's appeal, right? You can get this. This is like cheap book, like $5 or something. Of course, the Holy Quran, the Moor Science Temple of America. You go check out Mr. Peabody and Sherman, so they can tell us our own stuff. Since we don't, the freaking dog telling us stuff now, right? And then remember the priesthood is dead, right? So it's all about saving yourself, right? So the Pope came out, told the people that atheists can go to heaven too now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right. Pope denies Jesus is the only way to heaven,
Oh, really?
right?
Huh.
Because the priesthood's dead, right? Pope denies Adam and Eve are real.
Oh, really? When did this happen?
It's like last year or something like that.
Huh, they're covering their bases, eh? They're covering their
Yeah,
backs now, huh?
because it's cover back time, you know? Sun's baking. Sun's baking right now. Everybody's covering their back.
Wow.
Everybody's
That was
covering
the
their back
whole
right now.
backing of the whole thing, wasn't it?
Yep, yep. You know. So Islam Moors.
Wow.
Sister Tafibi, you'll get me in trouble and stuff. Yeah, she put something up there, you know, funny stuff, inside joke stuff. Be easy.
Huh? Huh?
Telling me be easy with
Oh.
lots of Z's.
Oh.
So boys, stay strong, boys. You already know. Keep the profit up front, and you know what I mean. We're gonna put a dent in this thing, right? And don't forget, for somebody on who doesn't know, don't worry about. Oh, I don't know if they're gonna get it or not get it. Don't worry. When they put the card in the machine and nothing comes out, they'll get it. And they'll come running, right? And then by that time, we'll have something for them, right? So stay strong, Morris. Check y'all in a half hour. Islam.
Islam.